everybody, and welcome back to the channel. My name is the Prince of FNAF, and if you're new here, please consider subscribing, and also be sure to hit that notification bell. That way, you'll indeed be notified for any awesome videos like this in the future. Alright, animatronics with weapons, and the weapons we are taking a look at are Freddy Frostbear's Icicle, Magician Mangle's Saw, Heartsick Baby's Bow and Arrow, and Grim Foxy's Scythe Sickle Hook. So, let's start off with Freddy Frostbear, who is a pretty cool character. Now, obviously, none of the characters within this list actually use the weapons to kill the player in any of the games they're featured in, but they're clearly weapons based on the way the characters hold them. And it seems like the festive Freddy Frostbear is carrying around a giant sickle. It could only mean bad things. And a weapon like this could actually do a lot of damage. Now I know what you're gonna say. Oh, wouldn't a sickle like that or icicle just break when it's struck with somebody? I mean, it's a pretty big icicle. It would take a lot to smash that. But because it's so big, I think that we're pretty good. And in fact, this icicle would do a lot of damage before even melting. The next one we have is Heartsick Baby, who carries a literal bow and arrow, and it's a Cupid's bow and arrow, and it's pretty cool. Again, with the Cupid type stuff, Cupid's bow and arrow was used to get that sexual desire and romance flowing with its bow and arrow, which was used in the mythology of the Cupid to get people to fall in love, which is a pretty cool concept. Circus Baby, it seems, has already shot herself several times with this weapon and hopes to find love, but was unsuccessful, as even Heartsick references the loss of a loved one or just being simply depressed or heartbroken. The weapon could cause significant amount of damage. I know that getting shot with a bow and arrow is very painful, but I don't think you're necessarily going to die depending on where you're shot with it. Next up, we have Magician Mangle with her hacksaw. Now, obviously, the hacksaw, when referring to magicians, is kind of an illusion-based trick where the magician will have a volunteer and they will pretend to cut that person in half and have that person still be okay. Obviously, if this were actually used to hurt somebody, it would cause a lot of damage because the hacksaw is designed to make clean cuts in metal. Now, obviously, human flesh would be very disastrous and there'd be blood everywhere. And to make things even worse for the victim is the Mangle's hacksaw is all beat up and twisted, the teeth are jagged, so not only would it be cutting chunks of flesh out, but huge chunks of flesh would be ripped out entirely if this were used on somebody, causing huge lacerations which would eventually make the person bleed out and die. Alright, next up we have Grim Foxy with his kind of scythe Grim Reaper sickle. And now, I wasn't going to use him on this list, but because there was a lack of animatronics with actual weapons, and because just how blatantly obvious and dangerous this version of Foxy's hook looks, he was included anyway. Now, I think that this is actually one of the more grotesque and brutal weapons wielded by any animatronic. Now, obviously, its original intention was for Foxy to craft his way and carve his way through the Halloween corn maze in The Curse of Dreadbear, but if he were to use it on some unsuspecting poor individual, it would probably be even worse than Magician Mangle's hacksaw, simply because his hook is on fire, because Foxy is a literal living jack-o'-lantern. Now, the hook is on fire to the point where the metal is actually this kind of fiery red color, which means the metal's hot. So it would be very bad if Foxy were to strike you with this, because not only would it be cutting into your flesh, but it would also be burning your flesh at the same time. Kind of think of a knife through butter, but for human flesh. Now, the animatronics have always been characterized as being very inhumanly strong, very strong. So, you would probably have entire limbs severed. You would be cut with this, it would rip your limbs clean off, and it would burn them at the same time. Which doesn't sound like it's a very pleasant thing to have happen to you. But let me know what you guys think about this list and which animatronic you think has the scariest and most deadly weapon. With that being said, do take care, have a great night, and I'll see you guys in the next video.